I believe it's really fundamental that those children understand that they can make their own music and can be proud of it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think sometimes where curriculums go wrong is that they're all about teaching our children to play and sing other people's music and not to actually develop their own music. I think it's such an important part of the learning process, not just to be able to learn to compose, but also to understand how music works. You can't really do that unless you've kind of taken music apart and put it back together by yourself, really.
Yeah, and and that goes throughout all school. We really do encourage the children to make their own music.
I'm Dr. Liz Stafford, and this is Primary Music in Conversation. This episode of Primary Music in Conversation is proudly sponsored by Starshine Music. Starshine Music provides excellent songs and musicals for primary schools. To learn more and access exclusive resources for primary music teachers, visit starshine.co.uk. My guest for this episode is Sarah Hargreaves from Ribby with Wrea Endowed CE Primary School in Lancashire. Let's find out what's happening in her school with music. So, welcome, Sarah, to Primary Music in Conversation. Please, could you introduce yourself for our listeners?
I'm Sarah Hargreaves, and I'm music coordinator, early years leader and Senko at Ribby with Wrea Church of England Primary School, which is in a little village halfway between Preston and Blackpool in Lancashire. We're a smaller than average primary school with 150 pupils on roll, which means we have 5 mixed stage classes.
Wow. Okay. And you're the music subject leader. You also have responsibility for a class as well?
Yes, I'm a full-time reception year 1 teacher.
Brilliant. Oh, that sounds fun, actually. I quite like that. Although straddling the key stages there, which I guess is not ideal.
No, it's a challenge, but it's also really enjoyable. So
Yeah, they're so cute at that age, aren't they? And then they get gradually less cute as they as they progress through the school. But they come in all wide-eyed and ready to do anything, don't they? And absolutely like they want to dance, they want to sing, they want to do all that stuff. And then we just try not to let that get knocked out of them as they get to the top end of the school, I suppose.
yeah, very much so. They have no inhibitions when they come in. They do start to get a lot more self-conscious as they get older.
So shall we start with the curriculum? Talk us through what's going on with the curriculum, who teaches it, how you've organised it, are you using a scheme, all that kind of stuff. Give us a flavour of what it's like in your school.
So because we've got 5 mixed age classes, we have a reception year 1, a year 1 2, a year 2 3, a year 4 5, and a year 5 6 class. There is no published scheme that actually automatically fits our school. So we've kind of created our own curriculum. We use things like the model music curriculum. Lancashire have produced their own documents called clips. And we use those to kind of build our own curriculum using a really wide range of resources. So I love using the old A&C blacks, like 3 tapping teddies and 3 singing rats and things like that. So we love those. And it's just a real mismatch of all sorts of resources we use a bit of charanga, bit of things that I've written, and a few lessons out of random schemes. We use the BBC 10 Pieces quite a lot to build a curriculum that actually fits our school and the needs of our children. And our music's taught in the first 3 classes, it's taught by the class teachers. So I teach my class, and then the 2 class teachers for the year 1 2 and the year 2 3 class are taught by their own class teachers. When we get to year 4 5, we're really, really lucky in that we've been doing what was originally called the Wider Opportunities Scheme, but is now called Whole Class Instrumental Tuition in some places. We still call it WOPS. We've been doing it since it began. And we're really fortunate that the children in that class can learn an instrument for the whole year as part of a wind band. So we have a woodwind teacher and a brass teacher for the whole year. and they learn to play as part of a wind band with instruments such as trombones and trumpets, clarinets, saxophones. So that's taught by 2 specialist teachers. Then when we get to year 6, we've been really lucky again in that we were approached by Stonyhurst College, which is a local independent school, and they offered us the opportunity to join a programme that they were running that was supported by the Arts Council that was all about bringing singing into school. So we're lucky enough that on a Friday morning, their choral master comes and teaches our year 5-6 music. And again, it's a bit like Wider Opportunities, but it's done through singing. And I think that's really, really important that our year 6 boys are seeing a male role model singing.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What a fantastic thing for them to have an experience of. And do you find that as a result, they are continuing to sing and they're not like questioning it or trying to get out of it?
It's a mixture. I think it really depends on the cohort. So last year's cohort absolutely loved singing as a cohort and were really theatrical and dramatic. This year's cohort don't love it as much, but they did a performance for us a couple of weeks ago of like a little musical, very short musical, about 10 minutes, of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And every single one of them sang and took part, and they were brilliant at it. And we were all so surprised at how well these children were singing and the fact that they were all taking part and being enthusiastic. And it was something that actually all through school, we've never seen them that engaged with singing. And yet all of a sudden, with having this role model, yes, it's having an impact.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. What a great thing to hear. So, and that you said that's funded, a funded opportunity, is it?
It's part funded. So we pay part of it and the Arts Council paying part of it. And it was one of those random opportunities. I just got an email that said, would you like to be involved? I thought, well, we'll find out a bit more. And originally we signed up for 1 term, and I think we might be in year 3 now.
And with your whole class instrumental, is that through your music hub, your local music hub, or is that a separate thing?
Yeah, it's through the music hub. We sit right on the boundary between Blackpool and Lancashire. So we get some of our instrumental tuition from Blackpool Music Service and some from Lancashire Music Service, which opens up a really wide range of opportunities because we can access both sets of resources and things. But they're now both part of the same music hub, which does make it a bit easier.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, and in the earlier years, what are your sort of focuses? What's your progression map looking like? What are the skills that you're trying to build when they're being taught by the class teachers?
It's very much building up those interrelated dimensions of music. So lots and lots of repeated practice of pulse and pitch and rhythm, some early notation work, lots and lots of playing of percussion instruments and learning when to start and when to stop together. And because I'm teaching the first class, we do lots and lots of composition, which to everybody else sounds like noise because it's lots of percussion instruments being banged and played together. But it's really fundamental. I believe it's really fundamental that those children understand that they can make their own music and can be proud of it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think sometimes where curriculums go wrong is that they're all about teaching our children to play and sing other people's music and not to actually develop their own music. I think it's such an important part of the learning process, not just to be able to learn to compose, but also to understand how music works. You can't really do that unless you've kind of taken music apart and put it back together by yourself, really.
Yeah, and and that goes throughout all school. We really do encourage the children to make their own music. Some of our piano pupils will write their own music and bring it to you and say, "Oh, I've written this. Can I play it you?" Of course you can. Of course you can. Yeah. And how at the school before we had the singing into year 6, I would go up and teach their music every now and then, and that was a really good opportunity to make sure that they were getting those fundamentals of composing and structure into their composition work. So we looked at things like binary and tertiary and rondo form, and they made their own pieces up using those forms.
Wow, that sounds quite challenging.
It was really good fun, actually. We used Debussy's La Mer as our starting point. So they made compositions about the sea, and the different temperaments of the sea, and then we use that to build up our compositions.
Oh, fantastic. Are you far from the sea where you are? I'm guessing not if you're near
No,
Blackpool.
no, we're not. We're just a few miles from the sea. We're in a beautiful green village, but it's not too far to the beach and the sea.
Oh, sounds idyllic. Can I ask you about, so when you've got like reception and year one, and obviously you've got like early years framework, and then you've got national curriculum, like, do you find that that's difficult to manage, or are you, does it all kind of just work in terms of music? Does it just kind of work itself out?
I know no different because I've always taught mixed age classes. So I just kind of do it. But we've been looking at our curriculum recently and just trying to make sure that our offer for every year group is the same, even though they're in mixed age classes. And I have to say that's given us some real headaches, just trying to pull things to pieces and make sure that our progression map is absolutely spot on. I think it's a lot easier in music than some of the others because all the skills you come back to again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
So children are constantly developing their pitch work, their pulse work, their rhythm work. So it's kind of this cyclical curriculum, and that they can access it at whatever level they're able to, and that next stage is always automatically built into your lessons. So I find it quite easy in music, whereas like some of the other subjects like geography and history, it's a bit more challenging.
Yeah, and so how do you manage a little bit off the topic because it's not solely music related, but so how do you manage with like continuous provision and then sort of proper lessons for like how does that how does that work in your classroom?
Um, we do quite a bit of whole class teaching. I think my reception class is probably a bit more formal than a lot of others. In that we all sit down and have a literacy and a numeracy and a phonics input every morning, and then reception go off and play, get busy as we call it, and we just work with groups. The year ones do a lot more focused tasks than the receptions do, but they still have access to the continuous provision because they still need it. They're still only 5, so they can still have that access to the continuous provision when they finish their tasks.
Oh, I think that's a really sensible idea. And you know, 'cause as you say, they are only 5, aren't they? And some of them will only just be 5. And yeah, sometimes we try and just push children on too much. I think sometimes it's a real shock for children coming out of reception and into year one, in certainly when you're in a single class, a single phase kind of environment, and they're like, oh, what happened to all the play, and where's all the Lego gone, and like what do you mean I've got to sit on the carpet for the entire day?
So it's just bridging that gap ready for when they go into the next class.
Yeah. And have you got any particular kind of music topics in terms of sort of, I suppose, the different types of music that you've got in your curriculum in terms of like genres and styles and things? How does that look?
It's kind of part of our topic work. So like we look at India as a country as part of our topic work. So we look at Indian music. We do a bit of work on Bhangra. The next class, they look at, they have a topic about around the world. So as they visit different countries, they look at different types of music from different countries. So we do a bit of samba, a bit of African drumming. They look at opera when they visit Italy and have a go at singing as an opera singer. It's all good fun like that. So it is very much built in. And then higher up the school, they tend to look a bit more at different genres. So our Key Stage 1 is very much music from around the world. Key Stage 2 is a bit more about different genres and historical music. So looking at music from different eras and looking at the differences between jazz and pop and rock and those kind of genres.
Okay. And so with your whole class programs, do they like feed into your extracurricular in any way? Like, do children then go on and take those instruments further in their own time, or have you got other stuff available for them to get involved with in terms of peripatetic provision?
They can do. So we do offer the opportunity for them to follow on from whole class tuition. But we also have a peripatetic scheme that runs alongside that. So children can have lessons on more or less any instrument they want. We're really lucky in that we've got a couple of really good peripatetic teachers who can turn their hands to almost anything between them. So I say every year, I say, if you want to learn an instrument, let me know and I'll see what I can do. So at the minute, we've got piano, drums, guitars, and violin.
Oh, nice mix. And then your brass and your woodwind in your whole class.
Yeah. And then we also have Rocksteady, so that they can learn to play as a band. And we have Ukulele Club, which allows the Key Stage 1 children to access some provision.
And is any of that funded, or is it all having to be paid for by parents direct?
It's generally paid for by parents, but we do subsidise the Ukulele Club.
And is that like an after-school provision, or
Yeah. So it's fun for an hour after school, and then on top of that, I run choir, and we don't charge for choir.
And what sort of stuff do you do with your choir? Do you get out and about and perform in the local area?
Yeah, we love getting out and about. So we do things like Young Voices and go to the Co-op Arena in Manchester, which is always a really good day. And that just amazes the children every year when we go and sing with 8,000 other children. It's like, wow. We also get involved with Blackpool Music Service. They run a choral festival, so they get to go and sing in the Tower Ballroom. So where Strictly Come Dancing is filmed. So we get to go and sing there. Lancashire Music Service run something called Lancashire Sings. So we get to go and sing with 5 or 6 other local schools at the local theatre, which is like a very small Young Voices kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Lancashire Music Service this year are doing their first big music festival concert. So we're going to the Bridgewater Hall in Manchester to sing.
Gosh, I mean that's every single iconic venue in the whole that area of the country, all just rolled into one.
Yeah, we've done them all in 2 years. It's amazing.
And do you find the children, is your choir really well subscribed because you're going doing all these exciting things?
Yeah, we have quite a good singing culture throughout school. So when people come in to visit us, they always say, the singing's really good. I can tell you do a lot of singing. And I think that pays off. So our choir is just over 30 strong, and it's only open to Key Stage 2. So it's about a third of Key Stage 2 come to choir.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I've got a good mix of boys and girls this year.
That's good. I suppose because of the other singing provision, maybe they're getting in. Yeah. Can I ask what your background is? Do you identify as a music specialist or?
Yes. So I did music GCSE, music A level, played the piano and clarinet at school. And then when I went to university, I did a 4-year BA QTS degree. So I did my teacher training alongside a music degree. So I've got a music degree and an education degree.
Wow. Whereabouts did you do that?
At St Martin's College in Lancaster. It's now the University of Cumbria.
Okay. I'm guessing that provision might not exist anymore because I've not heard anybody. Yeah. It's really hard to find anywhere where you can properly specialise in music as a primary teacher.
Yeah,
really
even then it was, because that was the way the teachers were trained in those, when I trained, you all chose a specialist subject to do. But even then, to do music, there were only 6 in the country.
Wow. So when you joined the school, did you join as music subject leader or did they discover your talents and then force you to do it?
I joined as music subject leader. I was an NQT at the time, so officially wasn't allowed a subject. But they knew that music was my background and they were looking for somebody to take over as music coordinator because she was retiring. So I'd been here as a student, so they knew that music was my subject.
Wow. So how long have you been at the school now?
22 years.
Whoa. Never fancied a change?
Do you know, I really enjoy it here, and it's very special. It's a unique little school.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got the perfect setup with all that music going on. And if you like it, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Absolutely.
Exactly. We've been really lucky, we've had the support of lots of good head teachers that have allowed us just to get on with our music and have valued the role of music in the curriculum.
That's really encouraging to hear. And you're a lead school, aren't you, for Lancashire Music Hub? Is that right?
Yes, we are. So we're lead school for the North.
And what's that? I know the role's really kind of still in its infancy, isn't it? But what's that looking like so far? What kind of stuff have you been involved in?
So far, we've just been trying to set up some cluster meetings and get everybody involved in just seeing what's out there and who's doing what and who can learn from what. So I've sent a questionnaire out to all the schools in my area, which is quite a big area. I've got Fylde and Wrea, and I think I go as far as north as up to Lancaster. Um, so it's quite a big area. So we just did a questionnaire that went out and asked what people wanted to know about, what I could help them with. So we've held our first cluster meeting last term, and that was all about curriculum and what people's curriculums looked like and what curriculum support they needed. And then hopefully later this term, I'm going to hold another one. We were lucky enough to have the HMI for Music do the primary music conference this year. So I'm hoping to use some of the information he gave us at that and filter that out into the other primary schools all about.
I have a lot of time for Chris. We went to university together actually, but I don't get
Oh,
special treatment for that reason. We completely lost contact, and then he popped up, and I was like, "You do what now?" But I think he's so supportive and he's so helpful, and he's been to a lot of conferences that I've been at or organised as well, and it's always the same message. It's very clear. There's no kind of subterfuge about it, is there? It's very easy, I think, when you've heard him to understand what it is that Ofsted are looking for in music. So, yeah, I guess disseminating that amongst all your schools would be, if that's the only thing you get to do as a lead school, that would be a job well done, I suppose.
yes, I'm hoping so. So we'll try. And then later on this year, we're going to host a come and play event. So we're going to invite local schools to bring their musicians to come and do an afternoon of playing and a little mini concert at the end for the parents.
Oh, that sounds nice as well. So we've kind of segued into this really with that last comment. What kind of stuff that you aren't currently doing would you like to be doing in the future? What are your plans for development?
I think mine's probably the same as a lot of people's. We really need to have a good look at music technology.
Mm.
We've started, so I taught our year 4-5 class last term and did a unit on U Studio, which is Chiranga's version of GarageBand kind of thing. And I went in with a bit of trepidation, not really knowing what I was doing and thinking, we'll just muddle through together. And actually, I quite enjoyed it. And the children produced some lovely pieces by the end of it. So I'm there thinking, if I can do it, they can all do it, because the children led it and they know far more than we do. And there were children in the class going, oh, I've been practicing on this at home, so I know what I'm doing now. I'll go and help so and so. And it's like, yeah, just get on with it. That's fine. You know far better than I do what you're doing. So that was almost like I did the trial run, and now I can disseminate that out to our staff and say, right, it does work. This is what you need to do. I can do some sessions on that with the staff, and
Mm.
hopefully fit a technology unit into every year group. That's my plan.
That sounds really sensible. I mean, it's the way the world's going, isn't it? And I think sometimes there's that worry, isn't there, that if we lean too heavily into technology, then will children develop the real kind of acoustic skills? But in reality, technology is a great leveler, isn't it? So if you don't have the money to go and get a violin and have violin lessons, but you have a phone because you need a phone, then you're still able to make music. And I think you children younger and younger now are able to operate quite sophisticated technology, aren't they? So it's a missed opportunity if you don't get that into the curriculum.
Yeah, and we still managed to talk about things like major keys and minor keys as we were doing it. So there was still a lot of musical learning going on in there. It was just a different way to represent it.
Yeah. I've been having an interesting discussion actually this morning in a meeting about the place of AI in music education in primary schools, and I was like, really? Um, but actually, that's coming too, isn't it?
Sorry, one of our classes has been creating their own songs on AI.
Wow. And did they come out all right?
I'm going to be honest and say I've not listened yet. They're still on my iPad ready to listen to. But the children had a whale of a time.
Which AI program did you use?
I don't know what they used, to be honest. It wasn't. It was the
Okay.
computing subject lead that did it.
Okay. Okay. So it was more nerd led than music led. That's what you're telling me.
I don't know if I'd say nerd led, but it. He likes his AI.
Well, it's coming for us all, so we've got to get on board, or we'll get left behind. I guess. I suppose a lot of creatives are worried about AI kind of taking away their jobs and things, so we have to use it with caution, don't we? But if it can be useful and helpful for educational purposes, then absolutely we should be embracing that because the kids will be doing it anyway. So again, we're doing them a disservice if we don't kind of teach them how to interact with these tools, I suppose. Well, I'll be very interested. Let me know what those songs have come out sounding like. Whether they sound like real music, whether they sound better than what you think the kids could have done on their own, or yeah, it's a bold new world that we're entering. The final thing I wanted to ask you was about the new national curriculum. Obviously, we don't know what it's going to look like yet, but sometime very soon, allegedly, we're going to see some like draft versions of it. Do you have any particular wishes for what you would like that to look like, or things that you think should be in it that aren't in the current curriculum?
I don't think there's anything I particularly think is missing from the current curriculum. I think at the moment it's very broad specialists, but equally I don't want it to go too far the other way.
Mm.
I think what would be really nice would be to go back to the days when we had ring-fenced funding for music.
Well, yes. Yeah, I mean, with the best will in the world, they can revamp the curriculum, but if they aren't going to give schools enough money to actually deliver it properly, then they may as well not have bothered. Well, I think before the technology defeats us, I think maybe we'd better quit while we're ahead. But thank you for giving us that little snapshot into what's going on at your school. It sounds really interesting, and particularly the technology stuff and the AI stuff. That's given us, I think, some food for thought. So thank you very much for your time today, Sarah Hargreaves. Gosh, that episode got me thinking about geography, weirdly, and what we might call the kind of postcode lottery for music. And it's clear that Sarah's school is in a really good geographical position to be able to interact with two different music services under the one hub, but also access all those different venues and the different opportunities for performing that they've got, whilst still being, quite a small school in a relatively rural location. So they kind of got the best of all the worlds, I suppose, really. I was really interested to hear about her kind of drive towards putting more technology into the curriculum. I think it's something that's been resisted in primary for a long time, and kind of rightly, really, in that we want children to actually experience making sound, with their voices and their bodies and their hands. So we wouldn't ever want technology to replace that, because we need that not just for our musical development, but also for our fine motor skill. So that's a really important part of the curriculum that we want to keep. But at the same time, we have to move with the times. We have to make music accessible and equitable for everybody. And so sprinkling a little bit of technology into the curriculum with our children who now are so digitally savvy, digital natives, that they will be able to cope with it much better than we probably can. They will learn it quicker than we're able to. I think that is really important. I really kind of support Sarah in her endeavours to do that. If you enjoyed this episode, then please make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, either by clicking underneath the video on YouTube or by using your subscribe button on whichever podcast app you are listening to the audio version on. You can also chat to us across our socials, which are at Music Ed Solution, or on Facebook and LinkedIn, we're Music Education Solutions. We would love to hear what you think of this episode and what you think of all of our other episodes if you want to dive back into seasons 1, 2 and 3. Thank you for listening, and do join us again for our next episode. We'd like to thank Starshine Music for sponsoring this episode of Primary Music in Conversation. You may already have had fun with their Wriggly Nativity, which the vast majority of UK primary schools have already enjoyed. If you're a music educator looking for great music and drama, visit starshine.co.uk to find out more. Primary Music in Conversation is presented by Dr. Liz Stafford, edited by Kay Charlton, and produced by Music Education Solutions.